This episode brought to you by The Tears of the Loser. Also by subscribers and patrons like you. Hey everybody, and welcome to the conclusion of my second competition video. This time I was challenged by Bill from Terrainaholic to make an entire Warhammer 40k table out of just a small amount of styrofoam and a few other things that we can find. We're going to take a look at the two final projects, and we are going to be doing an interview with all of our judges to find out who is the winner. Now, after one of the comments in the last video, somebody pointed out that the transition on my terrain was a little bit rough, and I told him that I did actually fix that. I airbrushed a transition from the bottom crystal to the top crystal going over the glass beads. So thank you so much for pointing that out. That is something that I did. I did do it before your comment, but it was a great comment and you were correct. So let's go ahead and take a look at the final two tables, my table and Terrainaholic's table, and then let's get into the judging and find out who is the winner for this second competition. So here is my final table. I am quite proud of it. I have a whole bunch of different pieces that are modular. They look really nice. This isn't necessarily the exact board that I wanted to put them on, but it's the best board that I have at my home at the moment. They also happen to match my purple Marines, which is by no coincidence, and my centerpiece is by far my favorite part of the whole board.
But this is the table, and I think this took somewhere between 50 and 60 hours to make when it's all said and done. Let's go through the parts of it. The very basic piece, you see this piece in the middle right here with the 3 cages on top. That's the most basic element that I was working from.
I'm still watching this, but what I want to point out is this is such a magnificent piece, and he has simple square-based models on it. It's something that I want my magical, amazing armies that have real bases playing on this, all over it. But square bases, Terrainaholic? Really, bro?
More majestic than my other Hell airships. My other Hell airships.
He has other Hell airships?
And everything's got a one layer of storm gray dry brushing. They just didn't quite look right, so I didn't put them on the table.
Okay. You've watched the video, you've seen the pictures.
Yeah, I have. Well, I watched the video. I've seen your picture, yes.
You didn't watch
Where's
my
your video, Aaron?
It's on our channel. It's been there for a month.
Oh yeah.
This isn't going well for me.
I mean, I've seen it all. I'm sure I saw that video and just not realize that it was actually one that was posted live. It was great, Aaron. Yours was fantastic.
Sure. Yeah. Tell me.
Filling out a table is very thematic. You stuck with a very cool crystal theme. You used the stuff and scraps that you had available and that you had around, and I think that was kind of the goal here, was it not?
Yeah. I mean, it was the first thing. It was a 4 foot by 4 foot by 2 inch thick piece of styrofoam. And then I wound up only having a 2 foot by 1 foot by 1 inch thick piece of styrofoam.
So you scaled down your project.
I had to scale down my project. Yeah.
And what, did you just give all your parts to Terrainaholic?
No. I just didn't have as much styrofoam as I thought I had at the beginning when we had talked about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But those were all used for the crystals, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then you use the plastic hexagon bowls to put them together to form the outcroppings and mountainous hill piles.
And then the glass beads for the roads.
And then the glass beads. To add a different sort of contrasting texture also to it, going from the flat angular to the bulby sort of like stuff within the ground, right? Was there another component?
No, they're chipboard based, and all the chipboard came from used game boxes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. I like my terrain to have bases, except when they're floating. The only thing that your terrain, Aaron, is lacking is it is really affected by gravity.
Shut up.
Which is something that is sometimes common with terrain. It always seems to be on the ground. I don't know what the deal is with that, except when it's floating over a lava field in some sort of sky castle that you use gargoyles and leather swings to fly across to get to wherever slave village you want to get to.
Could you imagine playing like jump Space Marines versus like jump Chaos or something on that board?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Hey, look, let's just cut to the chase. Bill is clearly the winner.
I mean, I don't want to say there's no competition here, but I mean, there's just so much about this piece that I feel like if you have not seen it, you need to go see it. There's a ship. There's a way to make it just look like it's flying in air, to make it look like it's just hovering above lava. I've not seen something of this scale used out of what looks like plastic card and dollar store bowls.
All right, so
yes.
Rating 1 to 10, mine and his.
Okay. Do you want to leave the room for this?
Well, no, I gotta write it down.
Oh, you have to actually record it. Uh-oh.
Right.
So I think that there is just something. I think there's not necessarily something missing from Terrainaholics, but I feel like there was definitely a theme stuck to. But I think there could be one other different type of element in here, and for that, I have to give his an 8 3/4. Okay. So yours, I saw the whole creative process. I saw the behind the scenes. So I might be a little biased there because
you can see his behind the scenes. It's the first 5 minutes of the video.
But I mean, I saw all.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
Yes, I had the all access pass, and I have to say your planning, your thought behind it, your intentions behind it, definitely earns you a 7.63.
Okay. 7.63. That's
Repeating,
generous. I appreciate it. That's a generous score. All right. Okay. I accept that.
Yeah. And really, I mean, if you just had some more floating terrain.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
I understand.
You did a great job, though. I can't wait to play on it.
I appreciate it.
If you get that and the smoking pipes,
listen,
all
when you
on the table,
that'd be amazing. It'd be gorgeous.
I can't wait.
But listen, when you go after the Styrofoam Master Terrainaholic, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you know what you're in for, right?
Yeah, but you should also come real because you know what you're in.
Yeah.
All
right. Thank you for your score, Judge.
You're welcome. I hope
the only other thing I have to say is that I'm not a cat.
I don't know how that applies, but
okay.
You are not a cat. You are not a cat.
You don't know how that applies?
Well, you don't have a cat filter on, so you got that going for you.
Talk to you later.
Hey, I'm Sean, Cool Guys Nation, and this is for part of Aaron's video on covering the competition between terrain building between himself and Terrainaholic. It went for quite a while. I'm not exactly sure how long everybody spent on their various terrains, but they both turned out really, really cool. They both have very different personalities and therefore impacts on the game itself, right? So I'll start with Aaron. So I think the big success here is that Aaron was able to build something that is ultimately going to fit into the game and your gameplay, his onboard experience extremely well, right? So the aesthetic of the crystals I know is something that he really likes. He does a lot of stuff with like gems and minerals and various properties of weird funny things that happen in nature normally that are kinds of rocks. But anywho, so the geos was right up his, or the crystal environment was right up his alley. And I think that we don't see enough of certain colors in boards, purples, pinks, stuff like that being primary among them, because they're not like, war fighting type stuff. So anytime that you get a very different experience of a battlefield, it makes me particularly really happy. There is a, section of the first Alpha Legion book, I believe called Legion in the Horus Heresy, where they go to this planet at the end, and it's got all sorts of weird, crazy weather, and it has like no indigenous life and all sorts of weird physical structures and stuff. And it's always kind of stuck in my mind as, hey, this is a place that I would like to fight a battle on. I want to see how my various war tools would work in this space, right? And the crystal terrain gives you that ability, right? It's got a bunch of stuff that can be used for area terrain. It has a tremendous amount of coverage, but it does not prevent you from conducting warfare against your enemy and hopefully killing them and smushing their skulls into the ground and or harvesting them for the skull throne. But with that said, right, I think that the execution of some of the aesthetics were not as clean as they could have been. I would have liked to see more scattered terrain and more smaller pieces built into the larger structures to give them some more variation, right? But you're fighting with this type of thing against this idea of geometric symmetry and repetition in structure and crystalline structure specifically. That makes that a weird space, right? So for overall score, I think I have to give it like an 8.5. It is fantastic for putting tanks on, larger vehicles, those kind of things. A lot of other terrain you see is built and very intricate, and then you can't fit your 50 millimeter base on anything, let alone a 60 millimeter base, let alone a 100 millimeter base. So having those large flat areas, clear delineations of space makes it really easy to fit into the game. So I love that tremendously. And then on top of, the right kind of battle mat, you just have a very different environment than you're normally going to get. So good stuff, 8.5. So then Terrainaholic made a insane demon world dungeon, Jabba the Hutt palace slash Bespin. There's got to be something other than Star Wars references, but it was really interesting. It was really different, right? So he took a kind of classic type idea, right? The hell world, where you've got lava and all that fun stuff, and he built like a city that stands on top of that. The execution is really good. The pieces and the variation in what he constructed out of the minimal materials he used, I also thought was really good. But where we run into some issues, and I hear he painted it and that he never paints it, or at least there's like a coat of gold paint on there or something. But anyway, but the problem that we have is when we get to playing the game, right? The walkways and the spaces he's constructed are very, very cool. They're very different, but they're all on the small side, right? Even if you were to play the most flexible jump pack army with light vehicles, you know, land speeders and stuff like that, versus flying Tyranids, you would still have some very real issues placing your models, moving your models around, and conducting the actual logistics of playing Warhammer 40k. With that said, even if you went beyond that to, let's say, an all-flyer army where you were looking at nothing but aircraft, you still even have like too much density of those various pieces to be able to function around in that type of like aeronautic, I don't know, the Skies of Fury, whatever the hell it was called last time, when they had the airplane specific warfare. So it hits the mark on aesthetics and what it was trying to go for, but it has, unfortunately, very, very little ability to be played on with the gaming system. That is the only gaming system that I really use on the tabletop, so it's a huge component of the score. So in the end, I think that I have to eke Aaron out just a little bit above at the 8.5 and go ahead and give Terrainaholic an 8. And the vast majority of that, you know, like miss was again, how am I going to put my models on this to play a game? But for looking cool,
What if he would have had walkways? Would that have changed your score?
I think that if he would have looked at it more along the lines of, where am I going to put all these bases, right? I'm going to have 50 32 millimeter bases in my army. How do I get these guys to be able to fight each other? It absolutely would have changed the score. The execution of the terrain was really, really good. He did use a couple extra pieces, little skull columns that I don't think he manufactured. I could be totally wrong, and more props to him if he cast them or something of the sort. But it's for a game. Now, if we were doing display boards or something like that, different story, right? Different set of requirements. But that baseline need to be able to put my models and move them around on the table is very, very important. And I think he could have accomplished that if he would have made the walkways, you know, a little bit wider, even like a 60 millimeter base. If he would have made the platforms larger down towards the bottom of the train and then smaller up at the higher levels of the buildings, you know, he could have gotten some terrace type of effect where you could put a squad or two, you know, 5 or 10 or 15 Space Marines in the same space and be able to have them, you know, combat each other or across the different levels of terrain. And there were some vertical distances that lacked things like ladders and clearly functional game mechanics to get from place to place, right? Not so much horizontally, but vertically in that respect. So would have been a little bit different if we were talking about display boards as opposed to, you know, functional terrain. So
Awesome.
but these guys did great, man. I thought it was really fun. I was really excited, and hopefully I'll get to play on all of these things at some point.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Josh,
¿Qué pasa?
have you studied the evidence?
I have indeed studied the evidence.
Are
It
you
was a
aware? Are you aware that I
thorough
am
examination.
thorough examination? Are you aware that I am not a cat?
You are not a cat.
Excellent.
Last time I checked.
All right. So, what do you have to say about the two projects, briefly, and then what's your rating out of 10? Feel free to use decimal points.
So I'm gonna go ahead. So what's the scale, by the way? You can't just
1 to
be like,
10. 10 being great, 1 being crap.
Okay, 1 to 10. All right. So let's start off with yours. How's that? So I saw the seed that germinated into the rest of your board a while ago. You've had it in a special place in your house, and you were very fond of it.
It was
And
one of
I
my
really
first. It was actually one of my first YouTube videos for the channel.
Well, I think it's awesome. I like that you utilize that for your terrain that you did. Very cool. I will give you a little bit higher points for practicality for terrain than Bill's because I could put models on yours and I don't think I would worry about it. And I feel like I wouldn't worry about breaking the terrain. All right, my lighting is now better. Yes. Okay, I was talking
Practicality.
about the practicality is the place that you're going to score the most points. I feel like there are less large pieces that are line of sight blocking, but I could really utilize and see the board layout. I think it would be cool if you took that idea and made like an ice castle or something out of it that you could do a line of sight blocking, or even a mountain. But I think an ice castle would be cool with Elsa. Okay, now talking about Bill's. Very cool, very intricate. You could tell he put a lot of time into it. Paint job's decent. I really like the bottom parts of it where he matched the lava terrain. However, you would have to play the entire game on those little buildings that he's got. And I think that is where his struggles. That's the playability is the part where his falls down. But the artistry and the idea and stuff is very, very, very unique as the buildings that he made. So I'm going to dig in pretty hard for playability though, because I think it's only going to be useful for like specialized games, like the one game where you guys played at Mini Wargaming.
Right, where we had to jump between the terrain. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to come up with specific terrain for it, or you'd have to have a specific scenario, maybe like Necromunda or some other game would be really cool on that. So I would say I would probably give yours 6.5, and I'd probably get his 8.5, even though the playability is lower. I feel like it's just really a neat idea, and you could see it just took a ridiculous amount of organization to get all that together. So yeah, that's my final score.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much, sir.
So hey everybody, I am DM Scotty, and I am here to judge these two competitors in this massive table competition, which is really cool. Because when Aaron and I did it, it was just a single piece. These guys are going for broke, and they're doing a whole, scape of table ready stuff. So this is pretty cool to see. Now, I want to say first off that both these guys are my friends, so I don't have a particular bias for one or the other. It's not like, I'm more friends with one than the other, so I don't have that going, but they are my friends, so I will throw that out there. And both did an excellent job. So let's talk about what we got here. So we got, we have Aaron with the, I call them crystal platforms, and I think they're really cool. It's something that's easy to do. It's something that the color was vibrant, which is nice because it's not the drab color. You can lay them out in all different kinds of patterns, get lots of terrain on there, different configurations. So pretty cool. And then we got Bill's Hellscape, Hell City, our Hell Palace, and this this thing is it's impressive. All right. I mean, I love what Aaron did, but if you walk into a room and you see the Hell Palace sitting there with the golden domes and all the spires and everything, this multi-level city, it's a pretty amazing, not just looking terrain, but like a feat of engineering, because you got to make all that stuff stand up with models on it. You know what I'm saying? So, that's a tricky thing. So, I must say that Bill's, that initial look when you see Bill's, it's just like, whoa! It's just so impressive. It's hard. It's hard not to
give up and admit defeat.
Wowed.
It's hard not to just give up. Yeah.
It's hard not to be wowed with that. So, I'll say I'll give but there are some certain things, like Bill's, I was thinking about, like kind of playability on this thing. Like you've got to be kind of careful when you get in there. I'm always hitting terrain and knocking it. What if you knock that thing and the whole, it's like dominoes and half the thing goes over. Where, Aaron's, it would be very hard to mess up. Like if you've got this set up it's going to be very hard to mess up the setup, you know, but besides scooting a little bit if you bump it. So, you know, you kind of got to get in there to reach some of the stuff that Bill has going on. But Aaron, it's all like kind of the style I like, where it's all open and it's really easy to get to. So I do like that. You know, but both are, you know, we're just interesting and cool and unusual, I felt. So I think I'm going to give Aaron a 8 for that, and all said and done. And I think I'm going to give Bill, I would give Bill an 11 because his goes to 11, but we don't have the scale of 11, so I'll give him a 10. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's where I'm going to land on the scales there. So yeah, both did a fantastic job, and thank you guys for letting us in on your creative process and you know, showing this fantastic stuff, because I love seeing these ideas, because it gives us inspiration to do our own things. And even if you don't do what they did, when you see this stuff, it's like, wow, you know, it can jumpstart your own imagination, and it can jumpstart your imagination in ways that aren't, okay, here's another brick tower, here's another stone tower. You know what I'm saying? You know, the millionth one that's been made. You know, here's something that's original. So these guys really thought outside the box, I think, as far as like making terrain, and that's what's really inspirational to me. So you're both winners. I know there's not literal winners, but they're both winners in my eyes.
Okay. The judging has been judged.
Okay.
Do you have any words that you want to say before I tell you the judging?
I think we both won.
That's not true, but okay.
Well, we both got terrain.
Yep.
So I would count that a win in both categories.
Okay.
I guess I'll leave it at that.
Okay, how about you say one nice thing about my project, and I'll say one nice thing about your project.
I love being a terrain guy. I love finding cool materials to work with, and you keep finding super cool things to work with. The hex trays, after I saw the video of you building a table like 7-8 years ago, it was a long time ago. I absolutely had to have those. I went online and purchased a big stack of them.
Yeah, they're super cheap. They're super cheap.
They're awesome. They're awesome. And where do you get those 5mm glass balls?
I buy them in bulk for a production operation.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but you can get them on eBay pretty cheap. You know what I mean? I buy them by the ton. Our company buys them by the ton.
By the ton?
Yeah,
okay.
By the ton. Literally, not figuratively. But you can still get them pretty cheap.
So like I could like throw some buckage at you and buy some.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we get literal 55-gallon drums full of them on a regular basis. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna.
And in various sizes too. We actually, the 5mm are the biggest. We also get 2mm, and we get some that are like sand. So I didn't use the 2.
But the 2mm sounds interesting.
The 2mm are pretty cool. Yeah. I really like your little frigate. I thought that was great. And I love the way that you painted your stands to match the board. Okay, now the hard part. Now we have to say something negative about each other's project.
Oh, okay.
You suck. No, I'm just kidding.
Why don't we call it room for improvement?
Okay, room for improvement.
Room for improvement. How modular is your terrain?
Like the physical piece itself, or all the pieces combined?
Would you consider it user-friendly for storage, or maybe not so much?
Oh, super user-friendly for storage. Yeah.
Really?
It's really sturdy. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, as far as like taking up space.
I mean, I can see how like you wouldn't be able to stack them, right? So they might have to go wide, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely see like you're not being able to stack them because of the crystals. Like you can't take the crystals off. So yeah,
Right.
that could be in terms of a width, like in terms of like how compact can you get them? Yeah, they each kind of need their own little space. They each need a shelf.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say that, and I will say that only because I went through unbelievable hoops to make mine as modular as possible.
Right, so you can take it all apart and like stick it in a box.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say the biggest negative for me on your terrain is probably the ability to play like a proper 40K game on it, or a proper Kings of
totally.
War.
Totally.
You know, like that's not really something that we like got into. Like we didn't really specify like, does
Sure.
the terrain need to be playable, or is it a display board? You know what I mean? So like,
Right. Mine is definitely more display than
more
play.
display, more Dungeons and Dragons. So just I want you to keep that in mind, because I'm going to read you the scores. I'm going to give you some synopsis. Obviously, you can watch this video and you'll hear everybody's direct words. But here are the scores in dramatic order.
Okay.
All right, starting out, my friend Sean. Sean gave you an 8, and he
Nice.
gave me an 8.5. But he clearly stated that yours was way cooler, but he took playability into an account. So he would want to play. He would want to play a game of 40K or Kings of War or something on it, and so he went that direction. All right, next is Big Aaron. Big Aaron gave you an 8.75, and he gave me a 7.63.
Okay.
And he marked me down because he felt like I needed more terrain and more scatter terrain, and that I kind of dropped the ball there. But he really, really liked yours. But again, he cited the playability as maybe it's one weakness.
Sure. Absolutely.
Next is Josh. Josh gave you an 8.5, and he
Nice.
gave me a 6.5 because apparently my best friend hates me.
I was about to say he's yeah.
But
You must beat him in a game.
that won't ever happen. But in general, you know, he thought yours was pretty off. Which brings us to the last one, DM Scotty. DM Scotty gave me a pretty high score. He gave me a straight 8. But then he gave you an 11, and we had to drop that to a 10 because it only goes to 10. Bringing the total scores for you to 35.25 and for me 30.63. So Bill, congratulations. You are the winner of this build off.
Well, thank you.
So
Again,
I mean,
you
it's
got
pretty-
very playable terrain,
yeah,
which is designed for the game you love to play, 40K.
right. And technically mine was buildable in 2 weeks.
Right, and mine took 6 months.
Which was another one of those not quite worked out stipulations that would have
Right.
dramatically swung the score if we did the video October 23rd when we were supposed to.
Right.
But your terrain, like, it's such an inspired, wonderful piece of terrain. And if I've learned anything from growing up in America as an American, you know, fight with the best and die like the rest, right? Top Gun, you know, that's how it goes. You challenge the best to a foam build-off, and that's what you would expect.
I have a lot of unfair advantages I've acquired over the years.
Sure, like talent and skill and ideas
Wow,
and...
like bandsaw scroll saw, buddy. Bandsaw scroll saw.
No, for sure. And I did wind up having, you know, less foam than I anticipated and whatnot. There were other issues. But
Yeah,
overall,
yeah,
it was a really, I think,
uh,
I think at the end of the day, we both made fantastic projects. I think you're right that we are both
yes.
winners, and I had a great idea. And Scotty and I decided just now that whoever I challenge next, you will then be the guest judge.
Okay.
So we'll just keep this thing going in a circle, right? Like I'll find somebody else to challenge, and whoever the last competitor was will be the judge in the next one.
That's a fantastic idea.
You know, so who knows? Maybe he gave you that 11 out of spite. We don't know because he lost to me. We don't actually know.
It's because he's a D&D player.
No, I think we know. I think yours is pretty incredible. So thank you so much for participating. I had a lot of fun doing it. I'm looking forward to it. If anybody wants to leave some ideas of who I should challenge in the comments, and if you say like Black Magic Craft, like unless you know him, good luck at getting him to accept my challenge. But yeah, that was really fun.
He's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
Black Magic Craft is a very nice guy. He's very he's a down to earth dude.
Yeah.
He's a gamer. He's the same as you and me.
Well, then maybe you should put in a word. Tell him I challenge him.
I will do so. I don't know if he knows who I am, but we shall see if you want me to.
Water. Well, thank you so much for participating and joining, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
And you can check out what everybody had to say in detail as soon as I get this video posted. Well, if you're gonna lose, then you might as well lose to the best. What do they say in Top Gun? Go against the best, die like the rest. Apparently, I am Goose, and I crashed and burned. I had so much fun doing this project. I know Terrainaholic had so much fun doing this project. I am going to be continuing to take and offer challenges. I have a couple other people who have already challenged me, and I have a couple other people who I have also challenged. So if you are enjoying these videos, remember to like and subscribe, hit that bell button so you never miss an update, take your patronage to the next level. That will really help us because then I can buy materials for the projects. You can also join our Discord in the links below, and if you have any recommendations of who I should challenge or who you would like to challenge me, go ahead and share this video with them or just leave a comment. Let me know. Let's see if we can get some awesome challenges going on. I know I would love to take on some of the bigger channels, but we'll see if that is at all possible. Well, until next time, this has been Aaron from the Cool Guys Nation. We'll see you on the table.